writer's strike. I want to talk about Adam Conover. Have you ever seen Adam Ruins Everything?
Yeah. Like, he ruins everything.
He does, doesn't he?
Really does.
He does. Yeah. So Adam Conover calls out David Zaslav's $250 million salary on air at CNN. Boo-hoo, I say. I'm sorry. Boo-hoo, I say. What do you want me to do? The dude makes a lot of money, right? So he says, David Zaslav, the CEO of Warner Brothers Discovery, the parent company of the network I'm talking to you on right now, because CNN is owned by Warner Media. The funniest part being that as soon as Zaslav took over, he took an axe to CNN Plus. He's the one who's just like, that's not going to make anybody. Nobody wants CNN Plus. Are you kidding me? Yeah. Like, did you ever watch? It was there for like a day, right?
I watched the rise and subsequent downfall in like a day.
Of like less than a day of CNN Plus. Like, what were the shows?
Oh, they launched, what was his name? Chris Wallace. He moved from Fox News to CNN, and it was supposed to like launch his career with CNN. Yeah. And then it just fell flat. Nothing. Well,
and that's the what I think Adam gets wrong here is that he makes the point where he says these networks are making tons of money. I'm like, no, they're not. No. Like, they're not making, like, they're cutting budgets constantly. Yeah. Like, that's the thing. So he says David Zaslav, I'll start over here. David Zaslav, the CEO of Warner Brothers Discovery, the parent company of the network I'm talking to you on right now, was paid $250 million last year, $250 million. Well, I wonder what the government took of it in taxes, right? Conover said during his interview on CNN, that's about the same level as 10,000 writers are asking him to pay all of us collectively. So David Zaslav is worth 10,000 writers. Seems about right? Yeah. So, like, the thing that I thought of when I saw this was, like, first, like, look, could David Zaslav do your job, or could you do David Zaslav's job? Like, which one is more likely to succeed at doing the other's job? My guess is that if we were to take David Zaslav and be like, look, you can use ChatGPT, and I think David Zaslav would be able to write a hit television show before these people would be able to run a company successfully.
Yeah.
Fair enough?
Yes. I've
seen it. Skellen?
On David Zaslav?
Yes.
No, I have no thoughts on David Zaslav, but I could do both jobs at the same time.
Yep.
I've seen the ChatGPT thing, like, write an article. Yeah. All you did was, like, prompt it with certain things. Yeah. And it pulled up a whole article. Now, somebody who's not really well versed in, like, writing and how language works, they're not going to pick this stuff out. But I know personally, like, reading through what ChatGPT puts out, I'm like, okay, it's good for what it is. It's shocking. But also there's, like, little things that, like, okay, people don't talk like that.
Yeah.
Right.
You know? Yeah, but, I mean, leftists don't talk like human beings on Twitter anyways.
Well, they put out terrible scripts anyway.
One of my biggest problems is that everybody who talks on Twitter, I'm like, nobody talks like that in the real world. Well, yeah. There is a snark to the way people talk on Twitter. Yes. That is not how human beings actually talk.
Well, here's the other thing, though. You know, like, Shane Cashman, shout out Shane Cashman, another writer at timcast.com. Yep. You know, a lot of times his work is very long, right? Very verbose, lots of words. And it's like, it's a particular style that he's, you know, created and crafted on his own. I'm sure he's had inspiration. But ChatGPT, it's going to be the same flavor. Like, if ChatGPT is vanilla, you're not going to get strawberry.
ChatGPT to write in the tone of somebody who writes.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is there's you're not going to, the humanity is going to be missing. Like Shane's work, even your work, like, right, we know it, like, it changes slightly depending on the article. You guys, there's just an X factor that will not exist when you have robots doing it.
Well, I mean, in Hollywood, I don't know if that X factor even exists these days. And I'm just putting it this way: if you gave David Zaslav a writing job, he would find a way to, like, farm out the work and get it done and make it work before you would be able to make the connections. Like, there's a lot that goes into being a CEO beyond just being in charge. Not to mention the pressure of having all those people's jobs on the line and having to be the bad guy when you cut jobs. Like, that's the thing. They're cutting thousands of jobs right now. So he's incorrect in this article where he says these companies their profits are going up. It's ridiculous of them to plead poverty. I found this old article. Warner Brothers Discovery continues to lose money despite the success of The Last of Us and Hogwarts Legacy. They're cutting jobs. When David Zaslav took over, he was tasked with basically eliminating $5 billion worth of overhead.
Yeah.
So he had to, like, that's why Batgirl is getting canceled. That's why TV shows are getting canceled.
Who was the writer that used to just get absolutely plastered before he would write? Like
Me? I'm kidding. I don't.
No, I can't remember. Joe Rogan brings him up all the time.
Damn it! I know exactly who you're talking about. I can't think now.
But anyway,
worst thing in the
Hunter S. Thompson.
Hunter S. Thompson,
Yeah.
right? So like his work would change depending on how much he drank, what he drank, his mood, like whatever. It's like ChatGPT. I refuse to believe, like, even if you're like, all right, act like a guy who's had 6 drinks at 2 a.m. on a Thursday night while it's raining, right? In that style, it's not going to be the same, right? It's not going to be the same. There's synapses firing in your brain that ChatGPT just doesn't have. ChatGPT is only 2 + 2 = 4. Where humans, as crazy it is, you're going to get 2 + 2 = 5 sometimes.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense, but that's just it.
Right.
Humans, the art behind humans and our creativity is that it doesn't always make sense.
I don't think that these people actually, they separate themselves into the haves and the have-nots, and they really do believe that there's going to be some type of equitable outcome to all this. It's why it's always hilarious to me when the actors pay lip service to this stuff, because the actors are the haves and the writers oftentimes are the have-nots, which is why so much of the art is made into propaganda about equity. And they want that. So them shouting this stuff out now isn't actually all that hard to believe. And a lot of people don't even know if we're really going to notice this writer's strike, because so many of these shows have been written out in advance anyways, and they're going to go and be made on streaming. They don't need the writers now because the shows have already been written and sold. And you just can't expect somebody like David Zaslav to, what is he supposed to sacrifice his contract so that he can pay these people for shows that nobody's buying or watching? That think about it. Like, think of all the shows that you'd consider hits in the last year. So what we've got: The Last of Us, we've got Dahmer, we've got Wednesday. What else was a big hit?
Dahmer got big.
What else was a big show that you would find to be culturally significant in the last year?
Well, not the last year, but Squid Games.
Okay, Squid Games, that was 2021, I believe.
2021,
yeah. Other thoughts? Other shows that
I'm
have
trying
been
to think.
chat? What else? What other shows would you say?
There's one that's coming out right now, and I didn't realize. I was telling you about it yesterday, Brett. So there's The First Light, I believe it's called, and it's talking about it's the Anne Frank story, but it's not about Anne Frank.
But I want to talk about
that's
shows
really good, and it's coming out right now.
Yeah, but that's good is not relevant in this discussion. Good, there's probably 1,000 shows that are good. Whether they actually resonate with people is what matters, and what we need to focus on is what people are actually willing to watch.
Oh, She-Hulk.
Oh, yes. Okay. So Better Call Saul, Better Call Saul did well, but I don't know if I would call it a cultural milestone.
Not like Breaking Bad.
Not like okay. Then how about this? Then you'd add House of the Dragon was popular.
That's true.
It was popular.
House of the Dragon did better over time than Rings of Power did.
Okay.
It grew an audience, so that actually sustained on its level of writing. So that's like, what, 5 or 6 shows total in a whole year. Think about how much garbage is dumped onto these streaming services every single day.
Yeah.
New shows all the time that you've never heard of, that no one has ever watched, and they're complaining that they're not going to make the same amount as the people that are actually excelling in their field.
Yeah.
That's not realistic.
No.
Yeah.
You can't expect that. But the problem is we've developed a weird type of utopian society. Yes, see, decoy voice. Yeah, decoy voice. What up? He's right. House of the Dragon. There's only so many shows that are actually going to be culturally relevant each and every year. Have there been any network television shows that feel that way?
I have no idea,
There's
bro.
been some that are good.
Yeah.
Like Tulsa King. But it's like, I don't know if it has
Yellowstone. You could put Yellowstone or Tulsa King on that list, I suppose.
Yeah.
Right?
Someone just said Yellowstone.
So Yellowstone. So there's not a whole ton. I wouldn't even put the Terminal List on there, because as much as we loved Terminal List, as much as I loved Terminal List and Reacher.
Rings of Power.
But that didn't succeed. They just released the thing that said that the viewership only.
But are we talking about successful, good, or are we just talking about
we're talking
getting
about
people
resonated
talking?
and got people to watch it. That you can get people to artificially talk about it by paying these crappy rag outlets to talk about it. Only 37% of the people that watched, I believe it was 37%, only like 37% of the people that started Rings of Power finished Rings of Power. Are you supposed to tell me that they deserve the same pay as the people who wrote House of the Dragon, which increased its audience week after week?
Yeah.
I don't buy that. But they believe in this utopian, equitable society where everyone's going to be making the same amount of money, and or at least they say they use the living wage. What does that mean? That's different for everyone.
Yep,
that's true.
Well,
I think they're what we're seeing, and they're not realizing, is that if you give everyone a participation trophy, the trophies don't mean anything. Yeah. Right. So that's what it is. It's everyone wants to be like, look how noble and great this particular project is because their ESG score was so high on the project. It's like, well, dude, cool, but that doesn't make it. Doesn't make people want to watch it necessarily. Yeah. I hope that Tarantino is supposed to. I've brought him up a lot today, but I think he's one of the last few great original storytellers that we have that's still making stuff. He's got one more movie coming out, and I think he's going to then start producing TV shows. It could be 10 years before we see anything from him, but at least there's that to look forward to.
Culture Critic says, why wouldn't you put Terminal List on that list? Because I think it did well, but I think it did well in a subsect of the population, which is like the
Peaky Blinders is good.
But again, I'm talking about the ones that really, really moved numbers at these networks that were part of a larger cultural discussion. Wednesday Addams became a cultural phenomenon.
That's
Dahmer
true.
was mentioned by everyone. There was people here that don't watch TV that were watching Dahmer. Is
that because of the writing, or is that just because of how it's a true story? Yeah. How crazy Jeffrey Dahmer was. Yeah. So is that's what I'm curious, because I almost don't want to include Dahmer in the conversation, because it's not that it was a bad show, but it was telling a crazy story that actually happened. So.
I'm tying this back to the writer's ability to sell something to one of these streaming services that actually proves the merit of their work. In the largest cultural sense, I believe that obviously the middle ground there is I love shows like Reacher, I love shows like The Terminal List, but they know their audience. And that audience is very specific, right? They're not looking to court an audience that doesn't want to watch their stuff, nor should they. Yeah. But a show like Wednesday or a show like Squid Games brought in a ton of people that wouldn't normally watch their stuff. Right? So I'm kind of making my point is kind of all over the place on this one. But the point is that there's only so many large-scale cultural hits every year that deserve a certain amount of recognition and payment for their work, that deserve to make those
Cocaine
big
Bear.
bucks. What?
Cocaine Bear.
And Cocaine Bear, yes.
I can't believe I forgot about that one.
Rogan basically talked about that, how you can't have every athlete can't be Michael Jordan.
No, they can't.
No. Can't.
And nor would the athletes ever want the pay to be that way, because it would, first of all, the lower athletes wouldn't want it if they want to win a championship, because then no one's incentivized to play better, right?
Exactly.
You're incentivized to make as much money as you can by being the best on top of winning championships. It's merit matters.
Well, that's what that's what I really admired about Tom Brady. A lot of people like him because he is the winningest quarterback in terms of Super Bowls, but he consistently took pay cuts for while he was playing for the New England Patriots, so they could pay other players to help form a great team and win championships. Yep. And it's not that he didn't make money, because he made money, but he could have been making, some years he could have been making twice what he was reeling in. Yeah. And he chose to, and a few players have done this, but he consistently did it. A few players have done it, and that's just, I love that. I love that for a player, because at the end of the day, I mean, to me, that's what the game is about. Yes, you're going to get rich along the way if you're playing professional sports. That's out of the question. You may not be the most rich, right? But you're going to probably be a millionaire after, a few seasons in the league. Now that doesn't go for everyone. Some people are one and done. Some people don't quite make it. But for the most part, if you're starting and you're on national television playing professional sports, you're going to make a lot of money. You're not going to be struggling to pay for a roof over your head or put food on your table. And so I think too many people have now kind of gotten sucked into, I want to be the stardom of being an athlete rather than just the love and pure joy of the game itself. And it's disheartening. I mean, that's, going back to the Jackson Mahomes thing, that's what I like about Patrick Mahomes. He wasn't a first round pick.
Inventing Anna was quite big last year.
Inventing Anna. I don't even heard about that one.
I just decided to take a list of the 10 shows that Collider said were the biggest shows of the year.
Read them off.
And just think about which ones had actual cultural impact, right?
Yeah.
So Inventing Anna, a lot of natural,
I haven't even heard of that
there
one.
was a lot of actual interest in that story, right? So Ozark, but that was already a show for years before that. So I'm looking more for one and dones here. Sandman did very, very well. On Netflix.
I don't even know that
Moon
one
Knight is Marvel.
Oh, yeah.
I thought that one got, I guess everyone was watching it.
Okay, The Boys. The Boys is another good
Already
example.
established,
but,
though.
but still, a show where do the writers of that show deserve to make the same amount of money as somebody who made some show that nobody watched? No.
Yeah.
The cream rises to the top, right? So
Well, in sports, a lot of times
Euphoria.
Euphoria. Yeah,
Euphoria
for
is
sure.
big, but already established as well. In sports, a lot of times you'll see contracts that they have stipulations that if your team makes it to the playoffs, you'll get a bonus, right? If you throw 15 touchdowns instead of 10, you'll get a bonus, right? And so I'm sure there's similar stipulations in these writers' contracts, and if there's not, there should be. If your show reaches, I don't know.
And they say that's on them for not negotiating better contracts.
Oh, 100%.
Take responsibility.
Well, maybe, and
for
that's
their own
why we're
actions.
having a writer's strike. But I don't know. I'm kind of happy it's happening because, who's watching? Like, I don't know. Chat, tell me, are any of you guys actually watching those late night comedy shows anymore?
No. Oh, I actually have that. I have something that's really funny too because I have this right here. It says Jimmy Fallon, like people who work for Jimmy Fallon are like calling him out. They're like saying, like, you don't really support the writer's strike because it all ends up falling apart when everybody turns their back on one another. Right?
No, and I love when they have guests on that talk about something that they don't want to. It just shows how uncomfortable they are, and it's like, you guys aren't comedy anymore.
People don't realize these jobs are replaceable.
Oh,
You
100%.
were expendable.
100%.
Well, I mean, all these. I mean, most jobs are right. Like, I do. That's kind of that. Really is just a perfect encompassing of what I was trying to say. Like, it is a lot harder to replace David Zaslav than it is to replace a writer in Hollywood.
Yeah, everyone's saying nope, haven't watched since 2009. Nope. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I haven't watched late night comedy in a decade, dude. Kudos to the writers. It sucks though because if people are going to start they're not going to go back. Humans are creatures of habit. Yep. So with these late night shows shutting down, they're going to find something else to do. And they're not going to go back. Which sucks for the writers because then you're going to be out of a job. So
Decoy Voice points out, he says, nope, they desperately tried to put The Daily Show after office marathons. Did you see what happened to Sean Hannity's numbers after Tucker got
Oh, absolutely.
Dropped like a rock.
Gutfeld too, and Greg Gutfeld. I don't know if I don't think he's included on this. I don't think he's impacted by this late night comedy hiatus.
He's not. It's not affecting.
But
him.
even his numbers absolutely tanked. And I was wondering, I'm like, who? I watched an episode or two. And I'm like, who's actually like? It's not funny anymore. Colbert was a little bit funny before he got all political.
Yeah. See, Gutfeld is kind of like that niche boomery audience. He is funny, but it's like I don't see anybody my age that actively tunes in to watch Gutfeld.
Right.
He is funny though.
I'll watch a clip on YouTube or something.
I reposted like something, or I retweeted something the other day. It was the picture of the stereotypical utopian society. It says like society if Conan O'Brien hadn't lost the late show job, the Tonight Show job. It's what it would have been. It's what we'd have been like.
I wonder why Seinfeld never got a late night gig.
I mean, why would he want to?
Yeah, why would he want
to?
He'd be. I'd at least.
Dude, why would he want to work 5 days a week?
That's true.
When he's like,
when he spends an hour driving a car, getting coffee.
Like, so I just here's a couple of other things that I saw. Jessica Vaughn on Twitter posted, with inflation raging, the cost of living rising, and AI automation on the horizon, it's harder to contemplate who won't be on strike or suffering mass layoffs within the next 2 years than it is to list who will be inevitably by following the Writers Guild of America, who inevitably will be following the Writers Guild of America. And I really liked what Malcolm Flex said. He said, lots of industries are under the gun at the moment as we've created the perfect storm of increasingly incompetent and entitled workers coupled with technology that has a higher learning curve but can also replace simplistic to sometimes complex functions. That's the point here. What I mean is, like, yes, it's not going to change the best writing. It's not going to be able to replace the best writing or the most complex art, but it will be able to do easier functions.
But I guess this could be a silly question, but the writing, I wouldn't even say is the biggest problem. It's almost like the decision making, right? It's like, because a lot of times they're not making jokes. They're not actually.
It's looking for clapter.
Yep.
So we'll see. But then again, I said it might be a silly question because they might just have AI start making the decisions for them. Like, hey, ChatGPT, analyze the trends for the day. Tell me what people want to listen to, talk about.
Jessica Vaughn also said the robots are coming and the corporatists who will be implementing them don't care about the competency nor the lives of the workers. This is the principle of profit over everything. The robots replacing all of us was always inevitable. There is no derailing it.
She's so cool.
Yeah.
I like her. And shout out to Malcolm Flex, too.
Yeah, Malcolm's
Flex rules.
cool.
Yeah.
Dude's awesome.
Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.